We got here, little New Orleans funky bluesy shit. Let's talk a little bit about playing funk. All right, funk and rock and blues and jamming and all that stuff is so deeply interconnected. And one of the elements of music that a lot of the guys that I play with and teach that they neglect is some of this funky stuff, okay? So a lot of that sound, okay, that kind of... right, that kind of... Great tune, Sneakin' Sally Through the Alley, okay? You know, Alan Toussaint, New Orleans kind of classic maestro. Oh, holy moly, what happened now? Let's see about this. There we go. Sorry, I guess I over-eagerly kicked my desk. And we're out of the key of B, all right? And what do we got? We got the lick, right? Okay. So something like that, anything you want, okay? So we're basically playing that up to an E chord, down to D, and then okay, so we've got kind of like a, hey Jack, I've been really getting into your lessons lately. Thanks for all I do. Thank you, Guitar for Everyone. I am super appreciative to hear that good feedback. So I'm not sure if everybody can hear the guitar all right. So really spanky kind of Strat sound here today. Kind of stringy in a good way. The only bummer for me is I'm used to doing a lot of heavy palm muting, and when I use the bridge and middle pick position. I have to be very careful not to press too heavy on my low E, otherwise I hear this. Right, if I'm in the neck position, it doesn't really make that sound, but if I'm more in the middle, don't really hear it too much, right? But if I'm here, boy oh boy, really poppy. Okay, so we're in the B kind of funk vibe. So we've got minor pentatonic with a lot of, right? So we're doing, so it's kind of that bluesy Dorian thing. So we've got like a mixo and a Dorian kind of smushed together. I refuse to ever say the words mixo-Dorian because that is some bullshit, but in a way it's just kind of like mixing up the blues scale and the Dorian sound at the same time, because the truth is Mixolydian and Dorian are only one note apart, right? So if we play both minor and major thirds over top of the, right, and then rather than make it sound kind of psychedelic and modal, make it more like, right, that kind of bluesier sound. And that's kind of where that stringy strat with too much compression, a little bit and make sure you've got a little bit. So I've got a couple of elements in my loop here. I've got the 335 kind of going. A lot of bass too. And I've got the one little kind of 80s Flesh for Fantasy kind of vibe, that whole. Kind of vibe going there. So if we kind of come in here, let the lick happen. With that opportunity to tag it every time, or if we want to make it real tight, or we can add some of those chromatic approach on. Right, play over top of the lick. All right. So learning bluesy sounds, obviously super important, but so too is that kind of, those little dyads. And I'm always going off about these a lot. They really help inform what you can get away with, right? All those little chromatic approach tones. Okay, so when you're up here, this position combination 2 out of B. Super, super helpful, okay? Okay, so nothing much going on. B, funk, B, funk, B, to the E, to D, and then, okay, and then we've got the bridge, right? Just, I don't know the time to try to explain. Something like that, right? It's just E, A, and D, pretty much. All right, not that big a deal, and then we come back into our. All right, really ripping jam to pull out at parties. Super fun song for party times. So what I want you to do is focus in on this low end stuff that's going on. You got. Right? Leaving some room is really important. Down, rest. All right, don't ever neglect your 6s and your 7s. Make sure you're rubbing on that. Really fun. Check it out. Another one. Right, so if we're in the middle of So if anybody's ever taken a lesson with me, they've probably heard me talk a little bit about the idea of the buoy. Right now, the buoy it's not a real thing, but the idea is to create a mnemonic device that a student can think about while they're playing. Okay, and basically the idea is like there's this idea that we keep returning to and holding on to keep ourselves afloat, and then we break off, fuck around, and then come back and tag the buoy. Okay, so this is a perfect example of that. So we're gonna, over top of the sneaking sound through the alley part, right? All that part we get to rock on, and then we come up and grab it. Okay, so we got like basically an opportunity to break out and do B funk, tag an E to a D, and then it's lick, and then go back in and keep practicing our B funk licks. So this is a great song if you want to set up a loop, you know, just this little part of the tune. And all right, there's this other part, and obviously the vocals are really what sell the song, right? So it's just a really, really cool tune. All right. Anyway, I've been fucking around with it lately, and I've been really enjoying it. Compression on the guitar today. That sounds kind of good with in the whatever you want to call the 2 or the 4 position, depending on which way you're counting. That kind of bridge middle thing. Right, I've got a little overdrive on just the same to kind of add a little tooth. Little breakup, never hurt. Anyway, this kind of sound works out nicely with the slide as well, which granted I suck at slides, so protect your ears. But the idea of getting that kind of Lowell George thing that's happening on the... Terrible at that. Don't ever hire me to play slide. If you're out there looking for a slide guitar player, I'm not your man. All right? So that's it. That's all I have. It's not a lot to talk about unless we've got something else to deal with. Let's see what we've got here. Get this sucker out. Got a little rehearsal coming in about a half an hour. I figured I'd stop goofing around. I had some unpleasantries take place in the studio down here. We recently had a pipe burst or something like that. I'm not quite sure what happened. So we have a ceiling that needs replacing behind me, which is terrible. The last thing I really want to do was look at getting another contractor into my house. If you're a contractor, please understand how much I hate your kind. You're not good people generally, because it's very difficult. View channel, let's see if anybody's out there. 14 people are watching. All right, so if you've never done any kind of funk guitar, the real trick to this is obviously playing being able to play the same thing over and over and over again. All right, so if you want to, you can think about, bye-bye keyboard. You want to look at stuff like that. Hey, Jack, I've been really digging that. Okay, Lucy Goosey says, what's up? And William Alexander says, what's up? So no questions that are pertinent yet. So what you want to learn how to do is kind of create loops that are like... right? Then put in the little lick. And if you can play along with that, right? Just literally playing along, going... Right? Try to play the same thing over to them. progression is not B minor so much as like a B dominant sound. Sneakin' sounded through the alley. More of like a B major with a flat 7. Sneakin' sound, B funk, kind of, sneak. So we'll be playing some minor pentatonic over top. So Guitar for Everyone asks, is this progression B minor C? No, there's no C in the song. There's no B minor in the song, actually. Yeah, exactly. So B7. All right, and then we've got an E, D, okay, and then boom. So that's the main lick right there. That's all right. You're allowed to have a typo there. He said, sorry, I didn't mean to say C. Yeah, it's not a big deal. So I'm kind of going... Okay, so I do like certain styles of funk guitar, that kind of thing, or boom. Great tune from an underrated album. It's so strange. Like, to me, I grew up doing lines and listening to this album for hours and hours, sessions after sessions. This is a big, that in particular, that first 2 songs, really, everybody had that on their jam time for party time. It was always fun. Nobody doesn't move during this song. It's too much fun to jam around to. Okay, great tune from an underrated album. I'm looking forward to spending some time with this after work. You're very welcome, Peter. So basically, you want to learn how to get your flat 7 vibe actually happen. Now, there's so much time I spend here talking about getting that bright New Orleans sound, and here comes a song actually from New Orleans, except this one is actually featuring the flat 7 quite prominently, right? All right. So we can still think about the major pentatonic and how it factors in, right? It's still usable. Sounds nice, but there's only so long until you've got to address the... Right? Take a break and then... So lots of time getting busy with my friend Brian Gitkin, He liked that kind of sound so much. So I'm channeling my inner Brian Gitkin. Another early adopter of compression in my world. All right, so if you're wondering how to get this sound, it's a lot has to do with that compressor actually being to make that stringy kind of zingy sound. Guitar for everyone. I'm 44 years old, 10 years younger than me. So I'm looking good. All right, and I've been playing for 30 years now, just getting heavy into Jerry's approach. I'm having to relearn my entire mental approach to playing the guitar. Well, you don't. I mean, listen, you don't have to relearn your entire mental approach. But I will say that the Garcia school of thought, which is not really on display here too much, to be honest, is simply a slightly, it's like one ring of intellectual curiosity further than most blues rock guitar players go, right? Most guys would just say, oh yeah, just set the controls for stun and go bonkers in the key of B7 here, right? And use, and they wouldn't be wrong. That's very good sound. I mean, that's pretty much what the harmonica player does, though it sounds like there's 2 harmonica solos on this record. But this is a good way to practice doing that whole idea that I mentioned earlier in today's office hours here is this idea of the buoy. So in addition to that's a buoy, as is. So you play, you tag the hit, then you hit the little lick, and then you go back into playing. So if you can do something like that, all right, and what are we doing? We're playing a 4 chord, then a flat 3, and then back to 1, right? So if you want to play into those changes, you could go sneakin' salad, play up into an E chord, then into a D chord, and then the lick. Then back to B. E, D, and then D, B again. E, D, lick. Yeah. So you can address the form of the song a little bit more than just your standard just go. And just kind of riffing and going monster crazy over the B, B bluesy sound. By addressing those other elements in the form, you kind of take a baby step towards that Jerry Garcia approach. So one of the things that we're really interested in learning, it seems like over here, is how to play into changes. And there's really no substitute for blues for this, in my opinion. I think that the great unsung hero amongst most jazz jam band guitar players is that they haven't spent enough time learning blues ideas. And I mean that with the utmost humility, that the thing I don't hear is enough of like soulful bluesy stuff. I hear a lot of twinkling and trinkling and tweedling and do-do-da-ba-do-bu-da sequencing and these kinds of ideas. But what I like is a little bit more grit. And one of the other elements about blues is that you can take it from a very basic format of a simple 1-4-5 and start to introduce elements of it that will benefit you down the road when you play in jam songs that have different, more kind of intense changes, so to speak. So if we're looking at we can get out of Sneakin' Sally here. Let's look at something else. This is something I've been working on with my the crew of students these days. Been working on doing like a jazz blues. Okay, and the thing about jazz blues that's so great is that it like I said, it's going to put you in the deep end of the pool. You're going to have to think on your feet a little bit and look at how chord changes happen. And one of the things that we can do to also stretch our learning abilities is to put ourselves in a key that we don't like, you know, or don't play in that often, like such as E flat or B flat or, you know, G flat or something like that. So let's not worry about doing that today. We'll just do something a little bit more straight ahead. And let's just make sure I don't have too much overdrive on the sound here. Let's go here, and then we'll go there, boom, boom, and let's see what we've got. We don't need that. That's kind of cool. Okay, so we'll do this. Now watch, let's do this out of, we'll do this out of B. Why not? Why don't I put you guys in the shit? We'll do B flat today. All right, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Oh, get the looper on. 1, 2, 3. You see why I don't like my looper? It sucks. That was a nice loop. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 1 to 4. Back to 4. Diminished. Back to 1. Up to 6 dominant. 2 minor. 5 and then. I did it again. Weird. Why see, I love my Kemper for the way it sounds, but if I was a looping guitar player, I would fucking kill myself with this thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, it is recording. What's hip about playing something like this is that we're going to have to figure out how to get out of the 1 chord into the 4 chord right away, like right away, right? 1, ba-do-ba-do, 1, to the 4, and back to the 1, back to the 1, still in the 1, back to the 4, up to the diminished, back to the 1, up to the 6 chord dominant. Okay, so when we hit the 6 chord dominant, that's going to be G7, right? And the key of B flat, the 6th chord is typically a minor 7th chord. It would normally be this, like. But if we'd give it that gospel sound, all of a sudden, rather than playing the B flat major scale over top of that being just fine because they're modally diatonic, right? Because that non-diatonic third in that G chord, we now have to address the third of it. All right, and that's going to give this kind of sound when we go. So if we kind of can lean in again. Huh, what happened? It did it again? tremendous amount of fun, all right? It's a lot of work, okay? But we're thinking about playing over a 1 chord to a 4, back to the 1, then I do a little 2, 5, 1 there. So we can arpeggiate that. Right, then to the diminished sound. Back to 1, and then now we're gonna. That's a good example right there. That sound happens in deal. So all you deadheads are out there going, ah, shit. How does any of this mean anything for me? Well, if you can handle a B flat jazz blues, then you'd be. Yeah, if they don't know that they can slow this down, they definitely need to pay attention to that shit for sure. Because it's one of the best things about the YouTube lessons, as far as I'm concerned. Well, okay, so what Dylan asked me, which envelope filter am I running? I have a couple. I liked this okay, but it broke. I have a bunch of others that I don't like, that I don't use, but I'm too lazy to sell. And then the Kemper one that is programmed in here is okay. And considering I only use it on 2 or 3 songs, it gets by. It's not my defining voice as a musician, so I don't really give too big a poop about it, but not that big a deal. I've always admired my expert playing skills, tone, and willingness to share and educate Jackaroo. Well, Daniel, that's awful kind of you to say, and I appreciate you tuning in. Jeff Gage says, I often wonder if everyone knows how you can slow down. So yeah, go to the little gear thing, and then your playback speed can be lowered down. So if you can't catch me going... This is literally how slow I was playing for years, okay? I think I'd like to hear a little bit more reverb on my guitar. If I could add you a little longer, yeah? That would be nice. Yay, okay. So let's take a look at that, okay? One of the things that people are gonna notice is I'm playing out of B flat major, not going... I don't have any, okay? But one of the tricks that you can do is toggling back and forth between B flat major pentatonic and B flat minor pentatonic. So if we did this, the major one over the 1 chord, and then when we go to the 4 chord, you go, it sounds really, really good, okay? So let's get that. Okay, it did it again. I do not understand what's going on here, but so if we get want to definitely think about. And we don't have to play it at such an up tempo. Pick on the pickup, acting like a snare drum. All right, so a couple little doohickeys that I'm doing in this to help kind of create a little bit more tension, right? I'm doing a 2-5 into the 4. What the hell does that mean, right? Well, if we treat the 4 chord like it's its own little world, right? And we think of that as the 1, therefore, even though it is the 4 chord in our blues, in order to create this effect, you have to kind of extend your idea of what's happening here and treat this like it's our new 1. All right, so in the key of E flat, okay, that's what this is. The 2 chord would be F minor, and the 5 chord would be our B flat. So it seems weird that we're going to go B flat, D flat, and then, E flat, and then go F minor, B flat, like that, going. You'll notice I'm also putting in this little money note here, that F note, or F sharp note. Okay. So if we articulate that, so that's right? Then into that diminished sound, back to B flat, right? And now we've got C minor, and then we've got F7, right? Okay, really smooth sound that we're looking for, okay? So we've got that 2, 5 into the 4, then the raised 4, that diminished sound. Now back to the root sound. All right, so that's kind of money, right? So we're doing that non-diatonic 6th there. That's that G6, that G7 sound. So if we're going, that is not the chord it's supposed to be, right? In the key of B flat, the 6 is usually a minor chord. I've already talked about this. It's usually a minor 7th chord, like that. So it would normally sound like this. Right, so boop ba doop ba doop ba doop, but once we come up to that, right, that chord would normally do that, but we're doing this. So once we alter it and turn it into a dominant chord, all bets are off. All right, and so we're allowed to look at this dominant chord and raise up its root to F sharp, G sharp, and treating it like a diminished chord, okay? So in lieu of this, that sound, we're gonna hear this. Right, so it's gonna be G7's top notes with its root up 1, okay? So when we stack that and create that, that diminished voicing, we can then start to do all that monkey business where we slide plus minus 3 frets. Or, okay, those are all the same notes, just reordered. They invert every 3 frets because it's a symmetrical chord. It's built on minor thirds. So it's stacked, it's 4 stacked minor thirds. That's why there's 4 notes, 4 roots, 4 positions where it plays. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right? So watch what happens, though. One of the convenient things about this diminished sound is as we bring that up, we'll be 1 semitone usually away from the resolution note that we're looking for. So if we go, and it sounds so pretty to resolve into the minor 2. That's the C minor chord right there. It's a really pretty voicing of it right there. Kind of looks like an E flat 6 chord. Okay, so if we're going da 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 da, we can go da 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 da. All right, that's what I'm gonna do right there. You'll hear me do this little. It's a nice little move that I like, right? So if I'm doing. Right? Really pretty. Okay, so we can also look at other ideas. Right, we go. Right? Very, very tough to. Does that. Yes, absolutely. So does that work for the other diminished shapes? Absolutely. So look, if we're going la da dee da, let's take it back one. So if we did it back from here, so we do. Right, so that would be the equivalent of going. So if you take it back and then go and find the next C minor shape, right, and then F. All right, if we do it over top of that would be this would be. So if we did it over top of this D diminished shape, we would go, right, and then we'd have to find the C minor shape that's closest to that. It would be there again, right? So it's just I'd be playing it down one string instead of going, I'd be, oops, that is, yeah. Hey folks, listen, I hate to do this, but my my rehearsal is just about to start, so I'm gonna duck out of here. Love you all very much. Thanks for tuning in and making this a fun, special place to be with the guitar. I really do appreciate it. I'll see you next time I get some time to do an office hours. Take care.